Adrenal insufficiency means your body literally cannot produce the hormone that keeps you alive during stress, yet patients spend more time fighting their insurance companies than they do managing their disease. The administrative burden isn't just an annoyance, it's a massive hidden cost that forces people to constantly prove they still need the medication that keeps them breathing. But what happens when the very systems meant to approve your emergency medicine are the ones pushing you closer to a crisis?
That's the piece that makes this so exhausting to watch people navigate. Because on paper, adrenal insufficiency is medical. You don't produce enough cortisol, which regulates blood pressure, blood sugar, fluid balance, the actual mechanics of staying alive. But in practice, having this condition is largely administrative. It's paperwork.
It becomes a full-time job.
A full-time job where your life is the thing on the line, and the person making the call is usually someone staring at a screen who has never met you. You're trying to keep yourself stable, and suddenly your pharmacy says, "Oh, we can't fill this because your insurance needs a prior authorization for a medication you've been taking for 10 years, for a condition that has no cure."
And the cost of that friction is measurable. Recent data actually shows that administrative spending accounts for up to 30% of total healthcare costs in the US. That's not doctors treating patients, that's the bureaucracy. And for patients with adrenal insufficiency, the stakes are so high that any delay isn't just a hassle, it's a direct threat to their physical stability.
Right, because we're not talking about a vitamin supplement. We are talking about daily steroid replacement and, crucially, emergency injectable medication. Things like Solucortef. If someone goes into an adrenal crisis, their body is shutting down. They need that injection immediately. And lately, just getting your hands on those emergency meds has become its own nightmare.
The shortages are terrifying. I was looking at the recent tracking. There have been severe shortages of these injectables, with some formulations even being permanently discontinued by manufacturers recently. Patients are calling 5-6 pharmacies just trying to find a life-saving drug that is back-ordered.
Which introduces this intense layer of vulnerability. Imagine knowing you have a condition where a common stomach bug could kill you if you don't inject cortisol, and you open your kit and realize your medication expires next month and no pharmacy in your zip code has a replacement in stock. That's a profound psychological burden. The healthcare system views emergency medicine as intermittent. You don't use it every day, so from a billing perspective, it's treated differently. But from the patient's perspective, having it sitting on the shelf is what allows them to sleep at night.
I don't know, that feels too clean to me. The system viewing it as intermittent implies there's a logic to the delay. But when you look at how prior authorizations actually function, it doesn't seem like logic. It seems like a structural attempt to just wear the patient down.
Well, I'm not sure it's entirely malicious by design, though it certainly functions that way. The insurance systems are built around algorithms and broad categories. They see a request for a brand-name drug when a generic exists, and the system automatically kicks it back. It flags it. The system doesn't know that for this specific patient with adrenal insufficiency, the generic version caused them to lose stability and slip toward a crisis. It just sees a cost discrepancy.
Which forces the patient into what the article calls appeals fatigue. You get denied, so you have to gather clinical documentation, write a letter of medical necessity, get your endocrinologist sign off, and wait.
And while you wait, your body doesn't pause. That's the disconnect. The administrative timeline operates in weeks, 30 to 60 days for a review, but the biological timeline operates in hours. If your daily steroid replacement is delayed because of a paperwork error, you can't just tough it out. You will end up in the ER. And we know that patients with adrenal insufficiency already face massive healthcare burdens. They can spend up to 8 to 10 times more days in the hospital per year compared to matched controls.
That hospital data is staggering. It proves that creating these administrative barriers doesn't save the system money. It just shifts the cost from a pharmacy claim to an emergency room admission.
Exactly. You deny a cheap daily steroid because of a minor coding issue, and you end up paying for a 3-day stay in the ICU because the patient crashed. It's deeply inefficient. And for the person living it, they start to recognize the patterns. They know Fridays are dangerous because if an approval doesn't go through by 4 p.m., they are unmedicated for the weekend. They learn how to play air traffic controller between their doctor, the pharmacy, and the insurance company.
Wait, does that actually hold? Because I keep getting stuck on the idea that patients are just accepting this role. Aren't there advocacy groups pushing back on this? The National Adrenal Diseases Foundation, places like that, they must be trying to change the architecture of this.
They are, absolutely. Groups like NADF and the Adrenal Insufficiency Coalition do incredible work providing emergency preparedness resources and fighting for better access. But policy change moves at a glacial pace. In the meantime, the patient still has to wake up tomorrow and secure their refill. The advocacy happens at the macro level, but the survival happens at the micro level. Writing those personal medical summaries, detailing exactly why they need a specific formulation, is a survival skill they never asked to learn.
It's a strange thing to sit with, the idea that managing a rare, invisible illness is less about the biology of the disease and more about project managing a bureaucracy.
Something about that is genuinely unsettling. You're sick, and your prescription for getting better is to become a part-time healthcare administrator. But the resilience these patients show is remarkable. Over time, they do find clarity. They learn the system.
We've been unpacking the invisible administrative weight of adrenal insufficiency, drawing from some really crucial perspectives shared in the My Adrenal Life community. If you want to dive deeper into these specific patient experiences and resources, you can find the full articles in the My Adrenal Life Facebook group.